Hello, we are cooking sweet potato, black bean and quinoa chilli today. We are starting by chopping an onion quite reasonably finely, not too fine though. There's not much to explain, you just basically chopping an onion. What I like to do is keep the root intact because it helps in the process to hold the onion so it doesn't slip around. So just like this, you just slice it this way, horizontally, twice, and then slice it vertically, and then you can just chop. It makes it really easy with the root still being intact, because if you don't keep it intact, the onion starts to separate with all the layers, and it just becomes one big mess. Make sure your knives are nice and sharp. Sharpen them before every single use, because blunt knives cause loads of accidents. They slip and slide and they don't make the cuts that you want to make. And then we're going to start on our garlic. We have 5 cloves of garlic that we need to chop quite finely, and the easiest way to do so is crush them first so the skin just comes right off. There's no struggle there whatsoever. So the skin comes right off, as you can see, and then we chop the end bits off that we don't want in our finished product. The bit that I'm chopping off now, I know it's just the tip, it doesn't need to be chopped off, but sometimes it has a little, what are they called? A little green bit. Basically starts to grow, and I don't want that today or ever. And then just slice it into slices and just chop, and then you have a chopped clove of garlic, and repeat that 5 times or however many times you need, however many cloves you have, and that's it. Once you have all of your garlic, just set it aside because we will need it slightly later. I just personally like to prepare everything ahead of time so I don't have to rush and panic when something needs adding to the pan and it's not yet chopped. And then we're starting on our sweet potato. Start by peeling it first if your potatoes are a bit rough. Mine were, so I'm peeling them. You don't have to if they look fine from the outside, if the skin is fine. But mine looked quite rough and they had quite a few spots. After they're all peeled, you can start chopping them. I chopped mine into about maybe 2 centimeter thick slices, and then into 4 because my potatoes were quite small. If they were bigger, I would try to make them more even, but I couldn't really do anything about mine today. So just carry on chopping them. It doesn't really matter, they don't have to be all the same because they're going to cook for so long. They will definitely be cooked at the same time. You won't have hard pieces or soft pieces, they will all be cooked. And I think it's more interesting when they're different And once you've done that, just set them aside because you'll need them slightly later in the process. And then heat some oil in the pan and add all of your onion and saute for about 6 to 7 minutes until it's nice and translucent and some moisture has come out. Just stir occasionally to make sure the onions don't get burned and they're cooking evenly. And the next step will be adding our garlic and all the spices. So once the onion is cooked, we can add our garlic that we set aside earlier, our ground coriander, about a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons. The recipe calls for a tablespoon, but I can't fit a tablespoon into my spice jar, so I just use a teaspoon. And then some chili powder. Then again, I like my chili quite spicy, so I had quite a lot of it. But if you don't like the spice, then please adjust accordingly. And then stir it all together and saute for about another minute before adding the rest of the ingredients. So after another minute, you can add the black beans, 250 grams or half a bag, and then a tin of chopped tomatoes. I'm using plum tomatoes that I just opened and just put a knife in there and just chop them that way. A teaspoon of dried oregano, and then some chipotle paste. Adds really nice depth of flavour and smokiness to the chili. It really makes a difference. Of course, if you don't have access to it, you can skip the chipotle paste, but I think it really makes a difference. So after that's all stirred through, you can add 5 tins of water. It can be cold or hot. I'm using the same tin from the tomatoes. It's an easy measure. And then stir it all through, put a lid on it and simmer for about an hour and a half. After an hour and a half, it's nice and bubbly, and then you can add the rest of the ingredients, which are the sweet potato and the quinoa. I know it doesn't look like a lot of quinoa is getting into there, but it expands so much you wouldn't believe, and a lot of water gets absorbed by the black beans as well, so it becomes all nice and thick later on. And then add your salt. I add about 2 tablespoons right there, and then I won't add any more at a later stage, even though the recipe calls for a tablespoon and then to taste if you need any more. But I think 2 tablespoons is a perfect amount, and then stir it all through and put a lid on it and simmer for another an hour and a half. And then after an hour and a half, it should all be nice and tender. It might stick to the bottom slightly, but it won't make the difference to the end product. And then we can plate up. I personally don't think the chili needs any rice or anything to go with it. It's a perfect dish on its own. And then sprinkle some spring onions on top. That adds really nice freshness and a different texture to the dish. And enjoy! I hope you enjoyed the video and enjoyed cooking the recipe along with me. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye!